friends, 2 time zones, and a shared love of stories.
I'm Freya.
And I'm Jamie.
Bridging time zones 1 chapter at a time.
Welcome to Once Upon a Time Zone.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Once Upon a Time Zone. Today we have a very, very exciting episode. We had so much fun putting this one together, and that is reacting to your unpopular book opinions. So we basically asked on Instagram, both of our personal Instagrams, but also the podcast Instagram, for you guys to send through your unpopular opinions. It could be anything, really. We didn't give any kind of restrictions. It could be whatever you thought. Yeah, and today we're going to be reading through them and see what some of them are, which I'm very, very excited about. But before we get into that, we thought we'd go over what we're currently reading. So Jamie, what are you currently reading?
Okay, so I actually just finished a book like 2 hours ago, so I haven't picked anything up yet, so I'm kind of in between books, but I just finished Jade War by Fonda Lee. This is... Have you read this one? I don't think you have.
I've got it, but no.
Ooh, okay. So yeah, it's the second book in the Jade City, or I think it's called the Greenbone Saga or the Greenbone Trilogy. It's so much fun. It's an urban fantasy. It's very political. So our world has like a magic system. Of course it has a magic system, but a jade-based magic system where you channel magic through jade. But then in like our city or our country that we're in, we have 2 main clans that are kind of like, it's very gang-like. It's very crime-centric.
I like that.
Yeah, and so it follows like the politics of the 2 of them kind of warring over territory and power and money and like resources of the jade and stuff, and it's really good. I love it a lot.
Ooh, I'm so excited to hear your rating about this one. I've heard such good things about that series. It's also an older series, isn't it?
It is. It's older, and I think she just announced their new covers coming soon, and they look so cool. And like the old covers, yeah, the old covers look like really. I like them too. They're very nostalgic looking, but the new covers, they're very unique, but like in a good way. And I love them, and I want the new covers too.
Okay, I'm gonna be looking them up like as soon as we're finished, because yeah, the old covers are very 2014 fantasy, if you know what I mean. Yes,
which I love, but yeah, the refreshers are really cool. Yeah. What are you reading?
I waited to tell you this. I am reading R.F. Kuang's newest book. Now, did we decide how to pronounce this?
Catabasis.
Catabasis? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So not how it looks. But yes, I have just started that. I'm very early days. I'm only 100 pages in. But so far, so good. I am having so much fun. Very much, it's really interesting because we're very much focused on characters rather than, like, at the moment at least, we're very focused on the character dynamics and character depth rather than the plot in a way. Mm-hmm. So that's very interesting. I feel like it's going to be a bit of a character study book. But yeah, so far so good, but I'm such early days. I don't want to say anything to spoil anything, but I wanted to wait for that one to see your reaction.
Oh my gosh. For context, if you don't know me, I have been waiting for this book for like a year and a half since it was announced. And I'm so jealous of everyone who has read it already or who has a copy of it, but I'm also so happy for you.
To be honest, I haven't seen too many people get copies. I've seen a few people in Australia get a few copies, but I really haven't seen many people like in America, even in like the UK or anything. I haven't seen anyone. Sometimes Australia and the UK is synced, but...
Yeah, this one's been kind of on lockdown, I think, because it's so really highly anticipated.
Ooh. See, that's Wild Reverence for us. Nobody in Australia's gotten Wild Reverence, but like you got Wild Reverence. So yeah, it's the opposite. That's
so funny. Anyways, I'm glad to hear it's going well so far. And
yes,
it's cool to hear that.
Updated.
Yeah, it's cool to hear that it's a like more character study type of book, because that's also what I've been loving. And I'm like, perfect.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's been really, really interesting. And of course, we've got like that whole hell setting, which is, again, really fun. And it's always really fun to see how different authors create hell, because obviously it's going to be very subjective to what author is writing about it. And I love just seeing the different representations of it, honestly.
Oh, I'm so excited. Can't wait to hear what you think when you keep reading.
Should we move on to unpopular opinions that we got sent?
Yeah, we'll start with the list. We have a lot of these, so hopefully we can get through as many as we can, but there are so many. So thank you to everyone who submitted an unpopular opinion. The first one is, I'm a fan of insta-love when it's done realistically and is enjoyable. Ooh, I like this
Look,
one.
honestly, I kind of agree. Like, it can be, I think we talked about this in last week's episode.
We did.
But yeah, we were talking about Rebecca Ross and the sense that her romance lines are usually quite insta-love, but it's done so well that it really, really doesn't matter that much. So I kind of agree. It can be done well.
Yeah, I think Rebecca Ross, also Abby Jimenez, I've liked some of her insta-love books where like the characters are immediately together pretty much, but then like as you go through the story isn't so much about their like relationship, but it's more about them overcoming obstacles together. And that's where the plot is focused. Study. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think it works really well when it's done like that. What I don't love about insta-love, like when I don't like it, is when it's insta-love or insta-lust, and then they pretend it's a slow burn. And that bothers me so much.
Yeah. Or if it's like insta-love and then, you know, they kind of fall, something brings them apart that's not very realistic and it's just like a little petty reason, and then it's like them re-falling back in love. That also really annoys me. If it's something, again, like Abby Jimenez, I feel like does this well. Like if it's something big that they have to overcome, that makes sense. But when it's just some little tiny thing, like somebody said something, that will really annoy me.
Yeah. Or it's like, oh, I can't go back to him because of this. And it's like, well, you obviously will in 300 pages. And it's just so annoying, like waiting for that moment. When it's so obvious.
But honestly, this can be a scary opinion to have, because I feel like as soon as you say insta-love, people kind of are like, you know, that's the worst kind of love. But I do think it can be done quite well.
Yeah, I agree with this unpopular opinion. Well, we both agree.
Exactly.
Maybe it's not so unpopular.
Okay, moving on to the next one. We had a lot of opinions that were very similar to this. I noticed this was very much a recurring one, and that is that some spice is fine, but smut can ruin a book, or just combined with the fact that spice can be really boring in books. I feel like some people absolutely love smut, and like that's obviously totally fine. I feel like I'm kind of on the line that if it gets too much, I'm a little bit like, okay, I do want to get back to the plot. Like even if it's a romance book, I'm like, I do want to get back to just some dynamics going on here at least. So I can see where this opinion is coming from.
Yeah, this is something I think that is truly personal preference, because like, again, I agree with this. Like some spice is usually fine for me. I think my line is like 1 to 2 spice scenes per book.
Yeah.
Because I think the first spice scene can be good because it's like kind of the reward you get after all the tension and the build up, and you finally release, and then that moment is like, yes, amazing. And it's usually a pretty significant moment, and it can be a significant moment in the plot too, and kind of telling, like in terms of how the two characters interact with each other even during spice moments. So I like that about spice and when it's done that way. But yeah, any more than like 2, then it just starts feeling really repetitive for me, so I get bored with spice.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think if there's really good chemistry and there's a good build up, a good slow burn towards it, then I don't really mind. But especially if it's within the first few chapters, then unless it's like, I don't know, a one night hookup, like I know a few books I've read are like it's a one night thing and then they bump into each other a year in advance or whatever. That's like okay. But yeah, if it's a relationship and it's within the first few chapters, I'm usually like, I'm just a sucker for a slow burn, honestly. So I'm just like, I just wanted more chemistry.
Yeah. Have you read Silver Elite yet?
No. I think there's a few opinions on this one as well, actually, when we get later in the book.
Oh, is there? Oh, yeah, there is. Anyways, I feel like Silver Elite was the kind of the bad version of this, where it just all happened too quickly, and then it kept happening over and over again, and I was like, but what? Like, not yet. Like, I didn't understand it, but anyways.
That book's really interesting. I've just seen like completely 50-50 opinions. Like some people absolutely had like the best time, and then other people despise it, and I'm like, oh my god. That makes me genuinely so terrified.
Well, you have to read it and we'll see.
I know.
Our next unpopular opinion is second chance romance is hard to get right. I'm trying to think of second chance books that I've read and my mind is blanking right now.
Yeah, I don't tend to read this trope too much, if I'm going to be honest. I don't know if this counts as second chance, but I think the times when I do think it can get right is if it's like childhood friends or, you know, teenage friends, whatever, and they kind of had something. Like there's one specific book that's coming to mind, but I'm not going to say the title because I feel like it would kind of spoil it. But yeah, like they're like childhood / teenage friends, like really close, and then something happens and they don't see each other for 10 years or whatever, and then in their adult life they reconnect. That, if that counts as second chance romance, that's usually what I enjoy.
I think I've seen people say the reasoning they don't like this trope is because there's always a reason why it didn't work the first time, and then it's like, what has happened to make that reason go away, and why does that not matter anymore?
Yeah, and I feel like it also really will depend on the reason. Like,
yeah,
there are some that I could just never pass. I'd be like, no, you'd be gone to me.
Okay, but I don't think I could say the title of this book too, but you'll know it. I recently read I would say it's somewhat of a second chance romance plus cheating trope. And I feel like
actually,
on all accounts that should not work and I should hate it, but it worked.
True. So I guess it depends on the characters as well, doesn't it? And I think it depends how far along and if it's a standalone and if it's a series. I feel like, there's a lot of factors that play into that.
Yeah, like how much time you spend in these characters' heads and like how many things happen to them along the way and how they tackle it. That's, So I guess it is hard to get right.
Yeah, 100%. I don't think I've read many books with that trope, to be honest.
Wow, all of these unpopular opinions have been very agreeable for us so far.
Yeah. Well, I think we're about to get into some interesting ones. The next unpopular opinion is Emily Henry is a bit overrated. I fell asleep during beach read. And this wasn't the only one I got on this. We got a few Emily Henry is very overrated comments, especially in my replies.
Wow.
Yeah, which is pretty crazy to me because I'm a big Emily Henry fan. I do love pretty much every book I've read by her. Like, they'd not necessarily have been 5-star reads, but I think they've all been like 4 stars and above. I'm pretty sure.
I would say the same. My least favorite from her was People We Meet on Vacation. But even that, like, I didn't hate it. It was just like compared to her other books, it's not as good. Like,
and it is hard because I think probably the same as you. Some of her books like Beach Read and stuff, I read such a long time ago that I'm kind of like, if I reread them now, would my opinions have changed? Because back then I didn't really read romance. I was reading like exclusively fantasy, and I just saw that at the bookshop. I don't think I'd even seen it on like Instagram or whatever, but obviously as soon as it's a popular one, it's like kind of put at the front of bookstores. And I just saw it and picked it up and I was like, oh my gosh, my life has changed. But, you know, I think it'd be really interesting rereading it now and seeing if my opinion is the same.
Yeah, a full Emily Henry reread would be really fun. What is your favorite Emily Henry?
I kind of, as I said, Beach Read was my favorite, and I'm kind of not sure now because I haven't read it in such a long time. I do still love it. I love our characters. Like, they are just cemented into my brain. But I have to say, I really liked Great Big Beautiful Life. I know that that's not a very, I think, you enjoyed it as well. And I know a lot of people didn't, but I really loved the main protagonist in that because it's like the first time I have seen myself in a main protagonist. And I was like, this is so much fun. I was like, this is what everyone experiences all the time.
Yeah, when you can relate to a character finally.
Right? Oh my gosh. It was because I'm just not, I'm not a cool kind of fantasy protagonist usually. I hate to say it, but yeah. So I was like, oh my gosh, this character is like kind of me. What about yours?
My favorite is Happy Place.
Yeah.
It's just, it has such a special place in my heart. It was so wonderful. The adult friendships in that one, I think, are what hit me the hardest. And
again, I think if people go into that thinking it's a romance, they'd be probably a little bit disappointed because that and Great Big Beautiful Life, they seem to be more of, I don't want to say character study, but like, you know, yeah, that one's focusing on friendship dynamics and like how friendships change as you get older and everything like that. And yeah, as soon as you can relate to something like that, I feel like it just adds a lot.
Yeah, I think with Emily Henry, even if you don't like one of her books, you may like another one of her books because she does have a little bit of a range. Like they're not all the same. We have like Beach Read and Book Lovers, which I think are kind of like classic Emily Henry, and then we have Happy Place and Great Big Beautiful Life that are more of the character study, more like general fiction tied in with a bit of romance. And then we have like Funny Story, which was very like, rom-com.
Yeah, it's like a different thing again.
Completely different. So yeah, she kind of varies in her books. Yeah. So maybe Beach Read just was not the right one for you. But I also don't know if you've read more than Beach Read before.
Yeah, exactly. And if you don't enjoy Emily Henry as well, that's totally fine.
That's also okay. So not me being like, you have to read more because I'm going to convince you.
Before you make your opinion.
Yeah, you're going to love her. No, it's fine to also think she's overrated. But we both love her, so you're wrong.
Yeah, but this is a safe space.
This is a safe space. No, it's not. No, I'm kidding. Everyone can have different opinions.
Yeah.
Oh, this one's going to be more for you. I'm going to have zero comment on this one. But I hate Lizzie from the Boys of Tommen series, even after reading Releasing 10. So I have no comment because I've never read any of these books. So Freya,
which you need to do, so. This is me being like, read it. No, I think, look, the Boys of Tommen, especially Lizzie, like they have so many characters that I feel like you're going to hate a few of them. There are some that, like Lizzie, for some people might be really, like they might strongly connect to her and see themselves in her. But I can see how she would, I mean, in Taming 7, I did not like Lizzie. Lizzie was on my nerves the entire time. And I was sure that she would not redeem herself in Releasing 10. I was wrong, because Chloe Walsh just has this way. But I think that's totally fine. If you don't like Lizzie, that's okay. I think there'll be a few people a little bit annoyed about that. But again, you're allowed your own opinion.
Yeah. It's kind of the same as I feel like Nesta in ACOTAR.
Yeah,
like
I was about to say, she's very much a Nesta character. Yeah. And like, you know, she's going through a lot and that kind of affects some of her a lot of her actions. Yeah, no, she's a very complicated character. And I'm not like, I love Lizzie, she's my favorite character, but I don't hate her by any means. So, but I mean, same with Nesta, honestly. Like, I didn't connect to Nesta like a lot of people did. But I do think it was really great to have Nesta in that series because, yeah, you know, she represented a lot of young girls, I think.
Yeah, like certain characters, sometimes you just don't relate to them, but it can still be rewarding to see their journey and go along with them.
Yeah. The next unpopular opinion is Iron Flame was great. It gets too much hate. I feel like we've got two different opinions here, so that kind of works pretty well.
Yeah.
Because I personally didn't love Iron Flame, if I'm going to be honest. But that was a lot to do with the romance and not the plot. Like, I didn't hate the plot by any means. It was just the characters were really getting on my nerves. And I do think if I reread the series back to back, it would be an entirely different experience. And I've heard a lot of people say that. I've heard that they were like, I hated Iron Flame when I first read it. It was so boring. It took me ages to get through. And then when they reread it before going on to Onyx Storm, they were like, oh my God, is this a different book I'm reading? So that makes me really intrigued.
Yeah, I think what Rebecca Yarros did with the Fourth Wing series is kind of interesting because Fourth Wing, I would say, is very romantic heavy, like very romance heavy, and there's obviously a lot going on with the fantasy, but the fantasy side of it was quite simple, I would say, so there was a lot more emphasis on the romance. And when we get into Iron Flame, it actually, like, to me, it turned into more of like a fantasy series with like a subplot of romance. And so I think when people went into Iron Flame, people expected a lot more romance because that's what Fourth Wing was. And then Rebecca was just like, nope, we're going to have fantasy politics. We're going to do all of this stuff. Romance is going to take the back burner. And I think the more we get into the series, the more it turns into just like a high fantasy. So
yeah, and that confused me as well because, I went in expecting just very heavy on the romance, like very much a fantasy romance book. And suddenly I think that's why the relationship annoyed me, because it kind of felt like it was just there for the sake of having romance in the book.
Yeah.
And I was like, to be honest, you could have like taken this away and I probably would have enjoyed it a lot more. But it did feel really weird going from Fourth Wing to Iron Flame. Like there was a big jump in
it feels
fantasy
different
levels there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very, even like the magic gets so much more complex. The world, like you see so much more of it. But yeah.
The politics just was like, whew.
Yeah. You got so many more characters involved from like different kingdoms and like different sides. It's like, whoa, what is going on? But yeah, I think if you go into Iron Flame just not expecting much out of the romance, there is a good fantasy plot behind it, and I will stand by that.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. You're not alone in that opinion.
Haha, my people. Okay, next one. Cracking spines and folding corners is totally okay.
Yes. There was so many people saying this as well, and I completely agree. I crack my spines so much because if I buy a book, I'm reading the book, and if that means I need to crack the spine, so be it. And also, I'm kind of obsessed with that like well-worn, well-read kind of book look. So I'm like, that means you love the book.
Yeah. See, I love that look in a library or like a used bookstore or like a coffee shop. But I'm just so protective of my little babies that I just can't do it. But I think we were talking about this previously too. I don't know if it was on the podcast or just in private. But
just us.
The paperbacks in Australia are more stiff and less floppy than the paperbacks here in Canada or the US.
Yep.
So I think you have to crack your spines to read them.
Yeah.
When I see like someone who's cracked a spine of a very floppy book, I'm like, what was the need? It just flops open.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm not going to purposefully crack my spines, but a lot of especially the older fantasy books, like the Mistborn series, Ember in the Ashes, everything like that, they're so stiff, and you genuinely cannot reach the middle of the book without cracking the spines. And so I don't care about that. But also I think, like, especially with folding corners, like dog ears or whatever, I used to do that when I was younger, and I never stopped doing it until I realized that it was like a bad thing. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's fine. I think it probably depends on the book, but obviously if you're buying a special edition book, let's not. But
yeah, don't do that. It's funny because now that you've said that, I'm thinking back, all of my childhood books are so beat up. They all have like little bent pages and stuff. So I'm just thinking now, like, when did I stop doing that? And was it a conscious choice? And why am I against it now? But as a kid, I did it all the time without thinking about it.
Maybe it's because it's like you're buying the books now and stuff. It's not like they were just kind of given to you.
Now it's like, because I remember property.
I would take my books everywhere. They'd be so beat up. They'd be like in my backpack. Then just, whenever we went out for dinner, so they'd like have some stains on. Oh, it was so bad. I'm not that bad now. The next one, I can't really relate to this one too much, to be honest. Sprayed edges are so overdone. And again, this was a very common opinion. But I feel like in Australia, we really, we've only just started to be getting sprayed edges. Before, I would say the last few months, I couldn't even get a sprayed edge book unless it was like a very special edition kind of book.
I would say here, I would agree that it's overdone here. And I think this is something else we've talked about too, but I think it was offline. Where the sprayed edges, there are two types. There's stenciled edges where you get the nice designs and it's kind of like printed onto the edges. And then there's the actual sprayed edges that are a solid color. And it's literally like someone just spray painted the book, and it like feels crunchy and the color like chips away and the pages get stuck together. I would like to just get rid of that type of sprayed edge altogether.
Yeah, because I think sprayed edges in special edition books can be really, really cool, especially if they're like hardbacks. I think that works really well. But I have started to see a few paperbacks like that, where it doesn't feel too necessary. It doesn't really add anything.
No, and I find like with the paperback plus the sprayed edge, I don't know if you've seen this, but a lot of the copies I've seen are like warped because maybe as the spray paint dries, like the paperback can't hold it in place correctly.
Yeah,
it's
or like the
the
paper expands or something more than the cover, and so it gets all like
so the pages get all weird and bent. Yeah, wavy and like distorted. I don't know. I don't think the paperbacks look very good. But yeah, hard cover stenciled sprayed edges are wonderful and I still love them. Okay, romantasy is overrated. I need more fantasy than just a backdrop. And I think we got a bunch of these too. A lot of unpopular opinions that were like romantasies have been copy and paste lately. There's nothing surprising in them. Yeah, I don't think this is unpopular. I think this is a popular opinion lately.
Yeah, I do think it can be scary to say.
Yeah.
Because I think, people can definitely get pretty offended by that because obviously I do think there's a difference between romantasy and a fantasy romance book. I've always said that. I try and explain it's almost like some fantasy or some romantasy books these days are more romance with fantasy elements rather than a fantasy romance. And that seems to be a very new thing because I can't remember when I was like younger reading any fantasy romance books with like super heavy romance. Like I remember clinging on to the tiniest little specks of romance and being so happy about it. And I think that's definitely influenced my opinion now because I do prefer a really strong fantasy book with a little bit of romance. I'm not opposed to romance, that's for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm the same way. And I think I feel like romantasies can be done well, but I think kind of along with everything else that happens in book publishing, I think something becomes popular and then everyone just tries to recreate it to make money and sell copies. Yeah. Essentially.
And I mean, it's hard because when you're talking about romance books, like obviously there's so many of the same romance books. Everyone, there's going to be a million Grumpy Sunshines and workplace romances and everything like that. And it's kind of interesting because that's not necessarily a topic that's talked about a lot. People being like, oh, it's overdone and everything's the same. Because I feel like you go into a romance book expecting just to kind of forget reality for a little bit and just like you're watching a chick flick or something like that. But as soon as it's got that fancy element, I feel like there's this expectation that there's going to be some more world building, some more to the story.
Yeah, like people take it more seriously.
Yeah.
I guess.
And look,
in a way.
I think we've talked about this a lot, the fact that like it is really hard to find a unique fantasy romance book these days. And it is hard because everything has been done. Like we've really covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, if I meet a romantasy MMC, like if I meet another one that smells like pine, I'm going to throw the book.
Yeah. Or I feel like honey's another one for
honey.
A female protagonist. They always say they smell like
cedar,
honey.
jasmine.
Yeah.
Mist.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. What does mist smell like?
Just wet.
Does it smell like damp?
Yeah. I don't know if that's a good thing.
I know. Sometimes I'll always catch myself, when they say like, oh, they pulled this expression or they smelled like, they smelled like something. I'll try and like picture it in my mind or I'll catch myself pulling the expression that they described like in the book and then I catch myself and I'm like.
You're like, what is that?
Yeah. Like separate book.
Or when toes curl. What?
And it's funny because half the time like you won't even realize it. It's just when I'm paying extra attention that I'll start to like question sayings like that or little descriptions.
Yeah, I think once I like get triggered once something happens where I'm like, oh, he smells like pine, so does everyone else, then you start noticing it more like in the book you're reading because now you're in that headspace of like, why is everything the same?
And this kind of ties into the next opinion as well, which is people mostly, in capitals, and made sure to include that one, down on romantasy because it's a genre women love. Now, this is a pretty interesting statement. And to be honest, I kind of can see that because I think, especially if you're not a reader, people think romantasy means smut. And then they'll just go, women are just reading smut. And obviously that's a really annoying assumption.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I do see how that can be like where you get that from.
I think a lot of people kind of look down on romantasy because maybe they are expecting, as you said, something like a fantasy romance where the fantasy elements are stronger. But then a lot of people are like, oh, this isn't a fantasy romance. And it's like, well, it's not supposed to be a fantasy romance. It's supposed to be a romantasy. Similar to like the Iron Flame thing. It's just people going in with the wrong expectations, I think. Like maybe that's just not your genre, but that's okay.
Yeah. And I mean, that's so easy to get the wrong expectations as well. Like, I know I've gone into some books that I really should not have gone into, like Haunting Adeline, thinking it was a fantasy book because people's description of it online, like, you know, people choose to focus on, even if, I'm trying to think of an example, but there's so many fantasy books where the romance will be a subplot and people will just sell the book because of that subplot.
Yes.
And then people will read it and be like, oh, like Cruel Prince, for example. People read it for the romance and then they realize that the romance is very much a subplot to the fantasy, and can kind of be disappointed because of that. Yeah, it's very hard. Romantasy is this, I feel like it's still a genre we're still exploring, honestly. It's quite new, I would say.
Okay, next one. This one's kind of juicy. There is no reason romance books need to be over 400 pages. Okay, hard agree. I agree.
Do you?
I do. Okay, a typical romance. Because
that's
there
the
are
thing.
also,
I was about to say.
Yeah, there are different types of romance. And yes, I did just finish Magnolia Parks Into the Dark, and I do think it had to be that long. But I don't see that as a romance book. I see that as like fiction with a lot of drama.
Yeah, I don't even know how you would describe that or categorize that series. And same with like, you would say Boys of Tommen is a romance series, but their books are like, I think the smallest book is like 600, 700 pages.
Yeah, those are thick.
And yeah, it makes it hard to say that. But I do think like if you're talking about standalone romance books, I can see that. The only exception to that rule for me is Mariana Zapata, because somehow when she writes a romance book, like All Roads Lead Here, I'm pretty sure is over 400 pages. I think it's about 500. Yeah. And that was like a favorite romance for me. I was really shocked with that one. Just because I feel like she does slow burns really well. But that is the only one that comes to mind. I mean, thinking of Lauren Asher's books, what is that? Love Unwritten. They definitely could be condensed down quite a bit, I think.
Or the Lucy Score books, too.
Yeah.
Those do not have to be that long. That's why I think like Emily Henry does such a good job, because I swear all her books are like 300 pages, like 300 something pages.
Yeah, definitely. And yet there's so much depth to them. Like it shows that like I guess you don't need to be super long.
They're perfect. They're absolutely perfect. Yeah. Also, I do not need epilogues. I think this might have been further down on the list too, but I do not love a romance epilogue. I think they are unnecessary. That's my personal unpopular opinion.
Oh, I think the only one I don't think about them too much, to be honest. I kind of get to the end of the book and then I just read over it and okay.
But that's why. Like you just skim over it like it doesn't mean anything.
The only one that I can think of that I thought was necessary was at the end of the Chestnut Springs series. But that was, again, it's a series. It's, you know, it's an interconnected series. It's not just... And also, I am really sick of the epilogues being like, and 2 years later, they got married. I'm like, oh, come on. I'm like, every single book.
Yes, most of them are like that. I'm like, I don't need to read an extra, like, I don't know, 15 pages of seeing them propose and get married and have babies. Like, I just don't need it.
The next unpopular opinion... This one's a hot take. People who only read one or two genres are restricting themselves a lot. And this was kind of a little bit repetitive as well. It's just saying people are reading too many straight romance books and need to be more diverse. Now, I don't know. This one to me, I just think it comes down to personal preference. If you're like, maybe if you're a massive reader, like obviously we read a lot, I do think can be important to like extend our wings. I mean, you're definitely doing that a lot more recently, getting into more just like general fiction and everything like that. And, you know, I do think, speaking of romantasy, if people are only reading romantasy and they like the fantastical elements, there's a whole world of high fantasy out there that they're severely missing out on. So I do get that.
I'm still a fan of read what you love, but also I'm just kind of astounded at how you wouldn't get bored at that.
Yeah.
Because even as I love fantasy so much, if I tried to read just all fantasy books for like an entire month straight, I would probably get really bored of fantasy by the end of the month.
Yeah,
and
you'd go into a bit of a slump.
Yeah, like I need a little bit of variety to just like keep me excited and keep me feeling fresh, I guess, about the things I'm reading. Because I think if you're reading so many romance books, for example, you're going to see the same pattern of things over and over again and the same tropes over and over and over again. And there might be a little bit of variety, but overall, I think it would just feel very boring, personally. But maybe not everyone is like that.
Yeah, I think it definitely depends on the amount of books you read, because if you're only reading one a month, one every 2 months, I think just going between slightly different romances could be fine. Like maybe going more, you know, contemporary fiction with a line of romance to just pure romance. Like if you're only reading it now and then, or if you're only read on vacation or whatever, like I can get how one genre might just be your comfort thing, and if reading's just like a kind of comfort thing. But yeah, personally, I do like, I mean, and I wouldn't say I'm a super diverse reader. I do want to extend a little bit, because I'd say I mainly read like fantasy and romance, a little bit of general fiction. Depends what you're talking about. Fantasy, obviously, there's lots of different kind of genres, but yeah, as a broad kind of one. I think it's, personal preference plays a big role in that one.
Yeah, read what you like. But if you do start feeling bored, maybe it's time to spread your wings. The next one is another kind of aesthetic one. So it is, I hate color-coded bookshelves. Aesthetically great, but a functional nightmare. I think the thing that would bug me about this is if you have series on your shelves, and if you're color coding and your series is not together, that would drive me mad. I think for everything else I'd be maybe okay with it. I still like to group things by genre, but it's the series that is kind of bugging me about this idea, is like, how are you going to just split them all out?
No, 100%. I need to know where my like books are, and I feel like, especially the fact that we talk about books all the time and need to like hold them up and stuff, if I had to be searching through my bookshelves every time, and especially because sometimes the spine of the book doesn't match the cover of the book. Yep. So I'd have like the cover in my mind and I'd be looking for it, and it would be like a completely different spine. That would, I do agree that it can be a functional nightmare.
Yeah, especially like if they're not grouped by genre, it's like, okay, what shelf do you even start with? I will say, so my shelves are mainly organized by genre and then kind of mood on top of that. I do have one shelf, and it's usually not on camera because it's kind of on the other side of my room, but I'm starting to just compile that shelf with literary fictions, and it's starting to naturally become a color-coded shelf. But I think because they're all the same genre and they're all standalones, it's fine. And I didn't even like mean to do it. I was just like, oh, these vibe with each other, and I put them next to each other, and it's kind of color-coded.
I mean, I do that to my boyfriend's bookshelf because he really doesn't care where anything is. So I kind of, and that's like, again, like a kind of a display shelf. So I kind of, and like, you know, you've got a lot of like Penguin classics and everything like that are the same color. So obviously grouping them together does look really aesthetically pleasing. I think, it depends how much depends on your genre diversity.
That's true. And all my sad books are blue, or most of the sad books I found are blue. So I just have a blue sad bookshelf. So and I actually love it. So I see the appeal of the color-coded bookshelves, but I don't think I would do it like for every single shelf that I have.
Okay, the next one, I'm glad I'm reading this one because the person who sent this in to me actually sent a follow-up message to kind of explain this a little bit more.
Ooh.
So I can find that as well. But it is Silver Elite's hate only started because people felt entitled to who the author's identity was. Let me expand 1 second.
Ooh.
The person that sent this in said because did you hear all the AI claims, like artificial intelligence was writing this book?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. They said that those claims were started by people who never actually had read it and were just kind of jumping on the bandwagon. And it's just very similar to a lot of other romantasy books / fantasy, any kind of thing like that. And people felt entitled to the author's real name behind the pen name. And when they couldn't find it, they started rumors that it's made by AI. So
I did see that stuff circulating, and I'm not gonna lie, I not like fully joined the hunt, but I was kind of like, while I was reading it, I was like, does this remind me of any author's writing style? And I was kind of trying to think of who might have written it, but kind of for fun, not seriously. But as someone who did read the book, I don't think I didn't like it because I didn't know who the author was or I wanted the author's identity. I just think I didn't enjoy the book because I did go into it wanting to love it, and I was just very curious about it, and I didn't. There were a lot of things that even if I knew who the author was, I would have still disliked these certain things about the book.
Yeah, I feel like you're more entitled to speak on it than I am, because honestly, I didn't go down that road too much because I haven't read it and I didn't want to get spoilers or anything like that. So I did see it circulating, but I didn't really delve into it too much. I mean, to be honest, I kind of avoid drama like the plague.
Yeah, so fair.
But it was really interesting. And I do think because of recent events, that is a very prevalent topic, like AI influencing the bookish world, writing, everything like that. I do think that's a really prevalent topic at the moment. And obviously that could have definitely fueled rumors or whatever. Sucks if that, the author was actually just trying to conceal their identity.
Like, just imagine someone's written this book and they're so proud of it and everyone's accusing them of using AI and not actually writing the book. Like, it can go both ways. And I think the internet lately has been a very harsh place. We're all allowed to have our opinions, but there was big buzz about this one. And I think with anything that becomes super popular, hate comes along with it. Like, that's just unfortunately how the internet is these days. So because it was becoming popular, it was getting hate. Like, the same thing happened with Fourth Wing, the same thing happened with like, Powerless, let's say, the same thing happened with Avatar and anything Sarah J Maas. Like, anything that's super, super popular like that will get hate. So
yeah, and I think like thinking about it from both perspectives is a good idea, because at the end of the day, you're never going to know. I know I've found so many rumors about particular authors were completely false. Like, they came from, I don't even know how they arose, honestly. And the authors had to come out and say, I don't know where this has come from, but, this isn't what I stand for, or this isn't what happened. So yeah, it is kind of hard. As soon as things are on social media and circulating like that, it's pretty impossible, I would say, to know what's true and not, especially when the author clearly doesn't feel comfortable coming out.
Yeah,
and
maybe
saying
they're
like
private for a reason.
If it's a she.
Yeah. Okay, the next one. A little more lighthearted, but also a spicy one. Carley Fortune books have no substance beyond the front cover aesthetic.
Now I have to say I haven't read any Carley Fortune books, so you might have to take the reins on this one.
Any of them, really? Oh,
no.
Okay.
Not that I just haven't wanted to. I just, to be honest, the covers aren't as cute in Australia. Like, they're very similar, but there's a few differences that I don't love. And so I'm like, oh, I don't want to buy them. I'll just get them on Kindle. And then I've never actually gotten them on Kindle because I've never felt drawn to them.
So you don't even have the front cover aesthetic. You've got nothing.
Yeah, exactly. We have this really ugly font on the front, and it kind of ruins it. And also they always seem to come out in summer for you guys. And obviously I'm already battling the winter. I don't want to read a cute little summer romance.
That's so true. So true.
Yeah.
The seasons get you every time. Okay. So I have read most of Carley Fortune's books. I haven't read her newest one that just came out. And I would say I liked her first release, but the rest of them, I kind of have to agree. A lot of them don't have a lot of plot and don't have a lot of substance going on. I think the aesthetic, though, goes beyond the front cover, and the aesthetic is kind of throughout the book. Carley Fortune will set that summer vibe very, very well. She's also very good at creating tension in a room, and I feel that tension in her books, and I really like that. So I think she has a lot of good things going there. But yeah, I will say plot's not great. Usually nothing much happens, to be quite honest. But like vibes are there. So if you want like a good read that you can take outside and like read by a pool or a beach or whatever at your cottage, like these would be perfect. But
Yeah,
I agree.
Interesting.
I've heard really good things about the new one though.
Oh, yeah, I was about to say that because I remember when her last release last summer for you guys came out, a lot of people were saying that they didn't have, a lot of substance to them. But I have heard good things about the newest one. This next one is, again, a very, very debated topic. And I feel quite strongly about this one. So, and we got a lot of things about this. Listening to audiobooks is not reading. And a lot of people in my section also said, you're consuming the book, but you're not reading it. This one I feel like is it gets down to like semantics, honestly. Like it's really hard to say what counts as reading a book to me. But personally, I think if you're in conversation with somebody and you're talking about a book that you listen to on audiobook, you can say, yeah, I read that book. Like,
yeah,
I don't think there's any way else to say, yes, I consumed that book. To me, that would just sound a little bit strange.
Yeah, like, or I listened to that book. Maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, yeah, I agree. It's just semantics. Like, if you're being very particular, then sure, yeah, you could say listening to audiobooks is not reading, because I think the definition of reading has something to do with, like, using your eyes and looking at symbols, basically, and deriving meaning from that. So when you're listening to an audiobook, you are not using your eyes to look at symbols, you're listening. So there is like that step is missing, you could say, from the audiobook reading experience. But yeah, like people are still, they're still getting the words and they're still doing like that stage of the reading process and taking meaning from that.
It's a broad statement to say, because I think people with like maybe dyslexia or just people, who struggle reading, I think it's almost, it feels really exclusive to say like you didn't read the book, like you didn't actually read the book. Like that kind of feels almost offensive to say for some reason in my mind. So I always will count, like I do understand that you're not actually reading it physically, but to me you can say you've read the book. I don't know, it's a really hard topic, and I do get that some people are very passionate about it. Gosh, my comment section, crazy passionate about it. But I don't think it's worth getting down to the tiny little nitty gritty details of it, to be honest. I think if you know the story, you know what happens in the book, you guys can talk about it. You can talk about the book that you read. I just don't think it's worth getting that down into it.
Yeah, I think I agree. Like I don't listen to audiobooks. I'm like a fully physical reader. I can't focus when I'm just listening to something, which is the reason I can't listen to them. But I would never like go to someone who like primarily listens to audiobooks and tell them they're not reading. Like, as you said, like, yeah, it's just not worth it. It's not worth going through the hassle or the energy or any of it.
Yeah.
Like, they're just...
And at the end of the day, you both understand everything that happened in the book. You both know the plot.
Yeah. Like, you can still talk to someone about even the writing style. Like, you can get that from listening to it being read out loud. So, yeah.
And I'm the same. I don't really listen to audiobooks that much, but I do go back and forth between them, especially if I'm, like, on a bus or something, because I can't read. I get motion sick. But, like, if I'm, like, in the car or on a bus or whatever, like traveling somewhere, I'll now and then like put in audiobooks, but yeah, I don't listen to them exclusively, that's for sure.
This opinion might be right, but I guess if you look into it further, it's like, is it worth the effort? I don't know. The next one is, whilst big books are scary at first, they're normally better in characters and story arc. Yeah.
If we're talking about fantasy books, yes, 100%.
Yeah, that's true. It depends. It can depend on the genre and just depending on the writing, really. It's on a case-to-case basis because, yeah, there are big books that after you read them, you're like, why did that have to be that long? And you don't really feel that deep into it. But then there are those big books that when you're done with it, or like a huge series, you're like, wow, like you feel so attached to these characters. You've gone through like you've gone through so much with these characters and you've spent so much time with them that literally they're just embedded into your soul by the end of it.
I pretty much agree with this. claim. I feel like, obviously it's a very short statement. So if you're going to be talking about, depends on the book. But even, again, I'm going to bring them up again, the Boys of Tommen books, the ones that I love the most are the longest books in the series, because I think we get the most depth out of our characters, and I think we learn the most about our characters, and the story is crazy. And then fantasy books, I mean, especially a lot of the classics like Name of the Wind and Brandon Sanderson and everything like that, they kind of need to be that long. I don't think you could condense them if you tried.
Yeah, you need all of that information. You need all that stuff happening, all the setup.
I think this one will be our last little unpopular opinion, because we have already been chatting for a long time, but we did get through quite a lot of them, so that's good. This one is quite interesting to me. I have DNF'd every fairy/fae book I have ever tried to read. They are boring to me.
I have so many thoughts.
Yeah, you go ahead. I'm still collecting mine.
Okay. So, to me, there are so many different types of fae books. We do have, I guess, the more popular ones, like the ACOTAR type of fae, who are honestly not really fae, if you think about it. They're not really that fairy, in terms of mythology. But then you get into something I don't know, another popular one would be Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia to Fairies, where you get more of that mythological type of fairy creature, and that is such a different type of a book than something like ACOTAR, and you go more into the folklore and all of that. And then you get into something like A Study in Drowning by Ava Reid, which is another type of a fairy, which is the dark, scary type of a fairy king kind of a thing. And I just think there are so many fairy books that they can't all be boring to you. I mean, maybe they are, but there's so many genres that have fae in them that maybe just trying one type of fae didn't work. But yeah.
No, I 100% agree. It's a very broad statement, and I think if you've only, to be fair, sometimes it's hard to know about those kind of more Emily Wilde's side of things. They're not as in the spotlight. If you're just going to be scrolling on TikTok, you're probably seeing more ACOTAR style fae.
Yeah.
And that definitely isn't for everyone. I think some people, definitely wouldn't enjoy that kind of fae. But I do think it's a hard statement. I mean, personally, I love fae. I am obsessed with all things fairy, fae. So it is kind of hard for me to understand. And I also think, though, it depends on the plot. If you say they're boring to you, sometimes, again, that first ACOTAR book, some people find that really, really boring. And I do agree, from the first one to the last few, crazy difference. So I don't know. It might be more the book rather than the actual fae aspect.
Yeah, maybe, you could maybe say, if, I don't know, if this person has tried only romantasy fae and that's not what's clicking, maybe try more, cozy fantasy fae, Emily Wilde, or try more darker fantasy fae. And if those don't work, then, maybe that's just not the creature for you. And that's also completely
that's also
okay.
Fine.
We all have a creature that we hate. Do you?
No.
You're I love all magical beings.
I'm give me anything magical and I'll be happy.
That's true. I'm we all hate one. No. You know what? Well, I don't think they're magical, but I don't like zombies. There's one.
To be honest, I haven't really read a lot about zombies or
Me
anything.
neither. And I think that's
I'm
on
not really
purpose.
actively seeking those ones. I think that ends up concluding our little podcast for the day.
I think so. That we had so many. We have so many in this list that we did not get
to. I know.
Part
probably
two?
even do a part 2 in the future. Yeah, because thank you so much to everyone for sending them in, because it was so fun going through them and seeing which ones we agreed with and everything like that. We tried to kind of get as many as possible in, but definitely quite a few more that we could go through. So
okay, so that is everything for today. So if you're still here and listening, thank you for being here and listening wherever you are in the world or whatever time zone you're in.
Until next time, stay comfy and keep reading.
Don't forget to subscribe and follow us on socials for more bookish content.
Bye for now.